You are listening to the Awake Athlete Podcast. I'm Jessica Mikowski, endurance athlete and mindset coach, here to share with you perspectives and contemplations from a 10,000-foot view of life. Hey, you guys, welcome back to the show. So a big theme of this show is really about becoming a deliberate creator in your life. I think I would be remiss if I didn't break that down a little bit. And the first step to really become a deliberate creator in your life is to tune into what you're tuning into. So making a practice of noticing the thoughts that you are thinking, making a practice of noticing the words you're speaking, and making a practice of noticing the actions you are taking. But the most important thing about noticing those things is as you're noticing them and as you're shining a light on the words, on the actions, on the thoughts, that you're also tuning into how you feel. Because how you feel is essentially the radio station that you are tuned into. It is a frequency. It's a vibratory frequency. We know that everything is energy. We live in these human bodies that have tens of trillions of cells, and each one of those has a positive and a negative charge. We are literally like self-contained battery packs. And how we feel is really what that frequency is, what we're tuning into. The feeling is so important to notice and to shift if what you are feeling is not desirable. And this takes time. And don't worry, you're gonna learn this as long as you put what I'm saying into practice over time. And so we know that like attracts like. So whatever that frequency is that we're moving from is essentially expanding that frequency in our life. Okay. Let's leave it at that for right now. The second really important thing to do is getting skillful about getting into the gap. So when you notice that, let's say you're in a negative thought cycle, you're in a neural looping, which is simply the programming that's been practiced in the past. And something's coming at you in life, and that programming is silky smooth, meaning it is ready to go into full effect based on the stimulus that's coming at you. So maybe a grumpy spouse or somebody that you think in your life that's drinking too much, or maybe that's you. I've had that too. Like, have that other glass of wine. Like, you shouldn't be having the glass of wine. And that doesn't feel good. It feels guilty. It feels like I'm doing something wrong. And if I am not attending to the feeling, if I'm not getting into that gap and saying, ooh, I have another choice here, I can actually get calm and let this feeling dissipate. Maybe I can actually make a choice that says, I'm not going to have that wine while I'm feeling this way, because I am actually, what I'm doing is I'm giving myself more reasons to feel this way. That's what deliberate creation is. It's noticing, getting into the gap. So there's a space between what's coming at you and how you're responding to it. And then you deliberately choose your response. Here's an example. I dream to see a world with more kindness. I dream to see a world with more kindness. So if I've got a nasty thought that is about to be locked and loaded and put out into the world, and I'm moving from this automatic reaction of, let's say, frustration, right? Somebody cuts me off and they just look totally clueless, right? Like, how dare they? And I notice that, and I'm about to go into reaction, and I'm about to, whoever I'm on the phone with or whoever's in the car with me, I'm going to start talking about it. I'm going to start expanding it, and I'm going to start doing that from that energy of intolerance. I'm intolerant about what they did. It is unacceptable what they did. I can also see that that part of me is not kind. And it is probably a far reach at that point to just snap my fingers and move into kind, but I can get into calm. Because there's nothing about nastiness or frustration or that kind of like intolerant reaction that is kind. Not to that person, not to the people I'm in the car with, not to who I'm talking to, and certainly not to myself. And if I continue to put that kind of energy into the world, I am going to have more reasons to react from that energy and to see things coming at me in my life that will allow that reaction, that energy to come up as an automatic program. We're going to talk more and more and more and more about this because it really is repetition to get these concepts, these new perspectives, this new world living where we're really living on purpose. We want more kindness in the world. We must look at what we are putting into the world. And once we see what we're putting into the world and how that measures up to what we want to see in the world or see in our life, then we can choose our responses in a way that direct the momentum of our life in that direction of the world that we dream to see, the athlete we desire to be, and the person that we truly came here to be. So deliberate creation is such a cool way to live. I mean, it by its essence, it requires you to freaking look. Look at when you're being nasty. Look at when you're being judgmental. Look when you're cutting people off and like, la, 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 I'm just going to pretend I don't see it. Look. You have to look. Where is this within me? A great inquiry to go into as you're really starting to develop this life of deliberate creation is when we see something. Let's go back to the person that cut me off. When we see something like that and it sends a charge through our bodies, the first thing, and this is a mind training, you've got to train your mind to have this as your automatic program. Where is that in me? Where is that in me? Have I ever been guilty of the same? Have I ever cut somebody off and seen out of the corner of my eye that they're freaking out, which really they're just scared? They're just scared. And I just kind of pretend that they don't matter, or I'm just like, screw you, whatever. Seriously, I've done all this stuff. When we get really honest with how we're moving through the world, you guys, and we get really clear on what it is that we desire to see, desire to be in this world, then we have a shot at creating our life deliberately. Up until then, until we are willing to look at where is that in me? Have I ever been guilty of the same in any form? What we do as a part of deliberate creation is we also shine a light on our unhealed hurts. So it's projection at its best. If my husband is delaying about signing up for a race, and I find that to be intolerant, I always look within me, and I have to look between the lines because I have stories about how super efficient I am and how my way is like logically and intuitively and spiritually the best way. So why would anybody do anything else different? I am so efficient. I get shit done, and I'll be charged because he's delaying on something. And I have to go in and say, what are you delaying on? And for a long time, there was a little bit of the delay about the awake athlete. But at the same time, the awake athlete really needed, and she still does, that timeline to unfold. But I think there was a part of me, the delay and the unacceptability about that was the fear. What is it going to be? I don't know what it's going to be. And perhaps There were moments where my intuition, I'm sure there was many moments that said, move forward now, like create momentum now. And I just covered it up and I moved along. So wherever that's, whatever the source of that is, or the words that we put around it, it doesn't matter. Like I can always find when I'm looking at someone and I see something that's unacceptable and I turn that light in and I say, where is that within me? I always freaking find it. But it's not such a big deal. And we're making a really big deal about our unhealed hurts, you guys. It doesn't matter how we got to this point. It's how we're going to move forward. Up until this moment right now is a culmination of everything that has happened in the past. And so we see the programs. When we look deeper, we see the fear. We see the anger, we see the judgment, and it's really all fear, 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 fear. And when we start to shine a light on it, we ask if it's, is this true? Have I ever been guilty of the same? And we start to, I like the word disempower because I feel like that's what it does. It just disempowers that energy a bit. And it kind of doesn't have so much of a hold on me. And I can literally take a couple steps back and I can say, okay, this is what's showing up. This is the programming. This is everything up until this moment right here that has happened in my soul life and my human life. Do I want to continue this? Because whatever I'm tuning into is what is what I'm tuned into, is what the frequency is that I'm sending out in the world. What we focus on expands. And the only way we're going to see what we focus on is by starting to pay attention. And I'm going to leave it at that. Take what resonates and leave the rest. And watch, you guys, when I say that, I want you to really embody what that means. Take what resonates and leave the rest. And this is such a good practice right here because the mind will maybe get fixed on something that you didn't quite understand, or maybe something that you didn't quite understand, and it will want to try and understand it. When what you're doing is you're not taking the opportunity to expand and put into practice what resonated. Because what resonated is what you're ready to hear. And what you're ready to hear is what you're ready to practice. So don't worry about the things that you go, what? The things that hit you and you go, whoa, yeah, okay. I'm just going to start paying attention to my words, and I'm just going to start to do that right now. And when I realize that I have forgotten about the fact that I said I was going to pay attention to my words, I'm going to start paying attention to my words again. So you get better and better at it. Better and better every day in every way, you guys. You get better and better every day in every way if you just take what resonates and put it into practice. And that is how we become deliberate creators. It is an awake state of living. Eyes wide open, ears wide open, right? All the senses being used in a really productive way to draw more attention and focus into how you individually are moving through the world, because how you are moving through the world is what you are putting out into the world, and what you are putting out into the world will become your world.